Hello everyone, my name is Christy Lynn. I am the author and illustrator of the Adventures of Jemmy children's series, and I am also currently working on a young adult fantasy novel. I wanted to tell you a little bit about something that I am doing in November. I will be doing a writing challenge called Novel November by ProWritingAid, which is a novel editing software that I use. The challenge is to write 50,000 words of a novel in 1 month. So I've done a challenge like this before since 2020 every year. The only year that I was successful was 2020. I ended up finishing my novel, which will hopefully be my second fantasy novel to come out. But every year since then, I haven't completed any of the novels, but I at least made progress. Since 2020, I've actually done a different novel writing challenge in November, but that challenge is no longer around, so I've been looking for a new one. Last year, I tried to just do it on my own, and I was even less successful when I didn't have a place to update it, so now I'm excited that this new challenge is coming out. And this challenge doesn't just have to be for novels. It could be for writing any type of books, or some people write scripts, some people just write novellas, some just write diary entries. So any type of writing can count as words for this. It just is up to you how you would like to use this challenge to help with your writing. So all the other years that I've done it, I think most of them I tried to work on a book that I had already started instead of starting something new. I always like starting new projects, but I know that I need to finish the ones that I've already started. And I actually currently have 3 novels, at least 3 novels that I'm currently working on, but 3 that I've made a lot of progress on. So instead of starting a new novel this year, I'm going to try to work on those 3 that I've already started. Every year that I've done this, I start out great. I get all my words written for the first few days of the month. I'm so excited. Halloween night, I'm like, yes, I can start writing at midnight. And I do maybe like 5 days at least of keeping up with my goal, and then I kind of just slow down in my work progress. I think my problem is that when I write novels, I like to have like certain scenes figured out ahead of time. I like to know like what's happening in the beginning, the end, and know like some of the major scenes in between to be able to have something to write to. I'm not very good at just writing and seeing where it goes, because then the beginning ends up not matching with what happens in the end. So I like to have a little bit of a plan in place ahead of time. And with the other novels that I've written, I had, I think, too vague of an idea of what I wanted to happen. So I think I need to do a little bit more planning to be able to finish these novels. So I think I'm going to use October to start planning more of these 3 novels that I'm going to work on. I think I'm going to just pick one to start with, and then once I finish it, then I'll move on to the next one. So my 50,000 words will be used to write 3 novels instead of just 1. So within the past few months, I think I did a little bit of planning for 2 of the novels, because I realized that I had a problem with stalling on my progress because I just didn't have enough of the plot figured out, and then I just had no idea where the book was going to go, and then I would just stop working on it. So I think what I'm going to do today is sit down and spend some time planning. Spend some time figuring out some more events happening in each of these novels. Spend a little bit more time figuring out the character motivation, some of the major events that are going to happen, so that I have something to write to from where I'm at, instead of just knowing where I am and the end. I want to figure out some other major plot points in between to be able to help my writing keep progressing instead of just stalling out in the middle of the month like I usually do. So I started a notebook that is just the whole plot structure of books. So I use different plot structures for it, whether it has like 3 acts or just like think either 7 or 9 plot beats, whichever one works best for that type of book that I'm writing. I will pick one of those structures, and then I will start writing some of the events that happen in the story that match best with that. I did only start doing that a few months ago with 2 of the novels that I want to work on. So I think I'm going to do that for the 3rd novel I was working on, and I'm also going to do a little bit more planning of some other events. I'm still not sure the big conflict that I'm going to have in these 3 novels. I think one of them is actually going to end up being a novella. It's kind of planned to be a little bit short, but I still don't... I have a basic idea of the plot, but I need like a good conflict to make it an interesting story. So I think that's where I'm having trouble with these novels. So I'm hoping that in November that I can finish these novels, or at least make a lot of progress on them to get them complete, because they've just been sitting unfinished for so long that I'd love to get them done. So come along with me as I plot for these 3 novels that I'm going to work on in November. So I think I'm going to set a timer, and I'm going to spend 25 minutes planning each book. So we've got my plot structure notebook here, and we've got my journal where I just write whatever I think of as it comes to me. Alright, so that is the end of my first 25 minutes. I got a lot written. As you probably noticed, I had about half of a page worth done before, and I just added my planning from today to that. I got almost 3/4 of the way through the back. So I think that was a successful planning session. So I had a good first writing session. And something that I forgot to mention was that whenever I do planning, I always write in a purple pen because purple is my favorite color. One of the cool things that I found out was one of the characters in my book gives her a present, and I didn't know like a good time for that. And then I thought, oh, well, maybe they can play a game, and then I was like, maybe at the end of the game is when she gets that cool present, and it's kind of like a way for them to connect. So I thought that was something pretty cool that I discovered while planning today. So for this one that I worked on right now, it has about 7 plot beats, so it's a little bit shorter. I planned on making it a novella, but whenever I'm doing the planning, I'm like, I can't think of anything else. Is this enough when I go to start writing? Is this going to be enough of a story? But it is a novella. I'm used to writing novels, so I'm not sure how my notes will translate into actual words. So I'll have to see how much actually comes out of it when I go to start writing, since it is going to be a shorter book than what I normally write. Now, I did plan on doing 2 more writing sessions for my other books, but I do have to go to my brother's house for his birthday, so I will have to pick this up another day and do my other planning sessions then. Alright, it is the next day and I am ready to get some more planning done. I'm going to work on the story that I have also done a little bit of planning on already. Let's see. Oh good, I have a lot of notes for this one. And I've already done a whole page, front page of planning for this one. So I will just work on adding to the back. Alright, so that is the end of time for the second writing session. I think this session I didn't have quite as much to plan because a few months ago I did try to work on this and come up with more ideas for it. So I didn't have too much left to plan for it. But I did discover something interesting about this book. So the one that I did planning for yesterday, I knew already was going to be a novella. I have it planned with using 7 plot beats, so I knew it was going to be a little bit shorter. And the novel that I am currently working on and editing is using like the 3-act story structure. But this one that I just planned now, I always thought was going to be a novel, but the 7 plot beat story structure, I'm not sure the name for it, was what fit best with this one. So this might actually end up being a novella as well. In my current novel that I'm working on right now with the editing, which I'm calling Project Necklace for right now, that one follows the 3-act story structure. So it has the main plot, and then it has 2 side plots that I'm also working on in that story. But with the one I planned yesterday and the one I just worked on now, there's only like the main plot. There's like no side things happening. So like, I don't know if, I know a novella is shorter than a novel. I don't know if like how many plots lines going on at the same time determines what type of book it is, but for me, I'm gonna just go with that because it'll help me figure out if I need to add in any like side stories or anything to it. I think as it is right now with not having any side stories might work out best for it. So that was something that I discovered while planning today. And something else interesting I found with these 2 planning sessions, I realized that the first 2 stories that I worked on, I've rewritten completely from the beginning, which I don't normally do. Usually I just edit what I already have, but I didn't like where it was, or I felt like I didn't have enough detail, so I completely started the story over. I kept it in the same Word document and I just started writing below it, and I did like reuse some of the descriptions and stuff from the first draft and just moved it into the second draft. It just gave me a little time to add a little bit more detail into the second draft because I wasn't happy with how the first one was turning out. So now I'm going to work on my 3rd planning session for the 3rd novel. This one I have planned to be using the 3-act story structure, and at the moment there are no like side things happening, so maybe that's something that I can plan today, is to have like another like side quest or another side plot line happening to make the story a little bit more in depth. So discovering what I did with the last one kind of helped me figure out what I need to work on planning today. So for this next story, I know I did the plot structure for it. Yeah, I did the plot structure for it, but I don't think that I've started doing any planning in this notebook. So I get to start with a fresh sheet for this one. And I like to include the date on my pages so that I can know when I did this planning or when I last worked on it. It's interesting to see how big of a gap there is between working on certain projects. It looks like the sun has come out a little bit for my next planning session. Okay, so I just started this 3rd writing session and I was just reviewing my notes to see what I had already for the plot structure so I can remind myself of what I was working on. And there actually is a second like plot line going on in this book already. I didn't remember that I had that, but now I do. There's like a second mystery type plot line going on amongst the main plot line, so that's something that I can work on adding in more details and clues for that. So it's good that I read that because I forgot that there was already a second one in there. I don't know if I'm gonna create a third plot line or not, but we shall see while I do this planning session if I come up with anything else. So that is the end of this writing session, and I did get this whole front of the page filled, so I think this one was a success. Alright, so while I was doing this writing session, I didn't think that I was getting a ton of things figured out, because there's like, oh, I need to include this and I need to include that, but I never came up with specifics, so I think that will have to be something that I find out as I'm writing. A lot of the ideas that I came up with were for more toward the second half of the book, and then I kind of realized that that makes sense because the first two novels I only got like a quarter of the way through, but this one I actually was past the midpoint of the story, so it makes sense that I would plan more for that, and I actually was stuck on the last quarter of the book and figuring out how to get to like the big finale of the story, so this was actually a very successful writing session for that. You might also be wondering why I'm working on so many projects all at once. It's because I am not good at finishing the one that I'm working on, so when I get like a new idea and I'm really excited about it, then I start working on it. Or when I do some of these writing challenges and I'm like, oh, I want to start a new novel instead of working on the one that I was working on because I got stuck on that. So now I want to do something else. So I have all these unfinished projects and I kind of want to actually finish them up. And they also all come from different things. So like Project Necklace started out as like a fan fiction, and then I changed it into my own story. The first novella that I planned yesterday, I had been reading books about dragons, and I know they're popular, but I was like, oh, I have something that's like a unique twist to that, so I thought that would be interesting to write, so I came up with that idea. And the two projects that I worked on today actually were based on dreams that I had. I have very unique dreams sometimes, and I write them down, and I'm like use that to create stories. So these two were based off of some unique dreams that I had that I thought I could turn into a cool story. Alright, so while I was editing this video, I realized that I did not film an outro. I think that's because I originally wanted to do another planning session where I planned for the novel that I'm currently editing. I have like a mystery element in the novel, and I know where all the clues are going to be figured out, and I know what the clues are. Now I just need to go back and add them into the correct place to figure out when she's going to learn all these things. So I was going to do that, but I've been busy now that I'm back to work. I haven't had as much time to work on my novel. I've been focusing on editing the actual novel instead of doing the planning part, so I think I will just save that for another video and another time. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed a little insight into my writing process. I hope maybe it will inspire you to write someday as well. Until the next one, I hope you have a great day.